Way back when little baby Brandon was part of the Wheel of Time fandom. Sorry about Perrin in the show. It's not my fault. I tried. Oh, how I tried.
Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation.
My question is, technologically speaking, what is the difference between space-age Skadrians and space-age Rosharans? And I hope this is not super spoilery.
Ooh, that's not too spoilery. We can do something like that. I probably won't answer it, but it's not too spoilery. I will tell you this. How about this? Number one, Bulgaria. Did I see there when Bulgaria is the only place I'm signing where we did them all.
3 hours later.
Yes. So what is the difference between Skadrian science and Rosharan science for the future of the Cosmere? That is a RAFO. However, I have a RAFO card for you. Oh, yes. Becky, you got one. Oh, it's coming over. So that's Scar. Everyone say hi to Scar from Bridge 4. Yep. I know what you'll do to me. No. So he's the only one that's not in there. So a RAFO card. Do you know what one of those is by chance? So, good story time. I warned you. I warned you all. Way back when little baby Brandon was part of the Wheel of Time fandom. Okay? Yeah. Sorry about Perrin in the show. It's not my fault. I tried. Oh, how I tried.
This may be unrelated, but...
You want to talk about the show? I'll talk about the show. The show sucks.
I know. I didn't want to bring it up.
Yeah.
Based.
Everybody, if you happen to not like the show, don't write on writers and creators. They try to. There's certain things.
This goes on for a while.
Good writers on that show, and they're very hard to do fantastic series. There's lots of forces that. So, way back when, baby Brandon, he's part of the Wheel of Time fandom, right? Wheel of Time fandom was hardcore. Robert Jordan often didn't want to answer questions because they would spoil future books. And so he developed something he called Read and Find Out.
Finally answering the question.
So I printed out cards because I always felt bad saying, no, I'm not going to answer your question. So at least you get a memento of the fact that you asked a very smart question that I'm not going to answer yet.
What a fun little diversion that was. I love Brandon Sanderson, and over the past couple months, he has repeatedly made several snide comments about the Wheel of Time TV show, Amazon's adaptation, if you can call it that.
No, I don't think I will.
And what's funny about it is they've been completely unprompted. Like this interaction, the question being asked was a silly science question about world building in his universe. And after 6 different tangents, it somehow ended on, oh, I gotta rant about the Wheel of Time for 5 minutes and complain about the show. So this has clearly been eating into his conscience for some time now. And that's funny because as much as I love Brandon, I've read all of his books, his problem is he's way too nice. Brandon is a very loving, trusting person, and some people take advantage of that. That becomes clear in his later Stormlight books when writing about mental illness, because Brandon, being the awesome, nice guy that he is, likes to accurately represent things like mental illness. And he goes so far as to have study groups where he can talk to people with certain illnesses and try and understand them as best as he can so that he can accurately represent those things in his books. But the problem with that, especially with multiple personality disorder, which he writes for Shallan's character, most modern cases of multiple personality disorder are actually just Munchausen syndrome. It's actually become a huge problem with mental illness ideation on social media like TikTok, where you can see the reported cases of said illnesses skyrocketing because people just want to belong to a group. So some of the people that he talked to about said mental illnesses gave him some bad advice, and Shallan was just horrible in books 3 and 4. But anyway, that was a huge tangent of my own.
Well. how the turntables...
The point of it being, Brandon is so nice and trusting, he oftentimes can't tell when people are lying to his face. That's important. Remember that. It's going to come back into play a little bit later.
That's a surprise tool that can help us later.
Brandon Sanderson is so nice, he also just doesn't like offending people. He doesn't like stepping on toes. He's a very friendly guy, and because of that, for a long time, he really didn't say anything about the Wheel of Time TV show, despite it being quite bad. But now we see it's been eating away at his conscience so much, he has to just let it out randomly, and it's hilarious.
Take the dam! Release the river!
So let's break down what he had to say about the Wheel of Time TV show after his outburst of, "I'm so sorry about what happened to Perrin."
Sorry about Perrin in the show. It's not my fault. I tried. Oh, how I tried. Yeah. They're doing some stuff really well. Perrin, my boy Perrin. Tangent time. I'll get back to this.
Now, keep in mind that most of Brandon Sanderson's comments are right now still only relevant to Season 1 because he has not watched Season 2 yet. He is arguably the biggest Wheel of Time fan of all time, so much so that he finished the books when the author died, and he has still not watched Season 2, probably because it's so bad. He revealed this fact when he did a live reaction to the Season 2 finale with Matt Hatch and Daniel Green.
I should mention that I haven't seen the whole season. People will be wondering, what? Now, I'm jumping. I've read all the scripts. I have not seen the whole season. This is the first chance I've been able to sit down and watch.
He had read the first draft scripts for Season 2, but that was it. And he just jumped into the Season 2 finale blind. So he doesn't even know the full extent to which Season 2 completely butchered the series. Because Season 1 wasn't nearly as bad. Season 1 kind of adapted Book 1 with some very glaring changes and very deliberate changes to the fundamental world building of the full series.
The man who brought the breaking of the world, and him they named Dragon. Now this man has been born again. We don't know where or to whom, if he was reborn as a girl or a boy.
You must be a biological boy to be a dragon. You have to be a boy to be a dragon. In the Dragon Reborn.
Season 1 kind of follows the plot of Book 1. And that's all Brandon has seen. Season 2, I don't even know what Season 2 is doing because it's not the Wheel of Time.
Well, I haven't quite figured that part out yet.
And Season 2 is where they really go all in on completely subverting core principles of the book.
I happen to be a hero.
So, keep that in mind when listening to his comments.
Everybody, if you happen to not like the show, don't rag on the writers and creators. They tried to. There's certain things, forces moving. You can know that Jeff Bezos at one point said, "I want Game of Thrones, buy it for me." And they're like, "You can't have Game of Thrones." He's like, "Buy me something that is my Game of Thrones."
This is absolutely true, what he says about Amazon and Jeff Bezos. They wanted a Game of Thrones. This is well documented. I don't believe what he says about the writers, but again, that's just Brandon trying to be nice. Remember, he's also trying to court Hollywood right now into tricking them into adapting his series. So he has to play nice, but I also believe that Brandon believes what he's saying. He's not being dishonest here. he's giving these writers a lot of good grace and benefit of the doubt. And he also didn't watch season 2.
I'll have her take your bond by force if I must.
I swore myself to you because I trusted you. Because I thought we were in this together. Equals. That was never true, was it, Maureen?
We were never equals. Light protect you. Alan Mandragoran.
You're a cunt!
Also, Rafe Judkins totally lied about this when he was bragging about the show on a stupid live stream, but I don't blame Brandon for not having the time to watch stupid internet videos. He's pretty busy writing awesome books.
You can know that Jeff Bezos at one point said, I want Game of Thrones, buy it for me. And they're like, you can't have Game of Thrones. He's like, buy me something that is my Game of Thrones.
That Wheel of Time itself is not chasing Game of Thrones.
Liar. He's a liar.
It is not chasing Lord of the Rings. It is something that exists on its own, and other things will chase it someday, and are now even. Like, people talk about Wheel of Time as a comp for things that they're trying to make because of the success the show's had.
Who says that? No one says that.
There are baffling and horrible writing decisions that take place in both seasons 1 and 2 that have nothing to do with the plot of the books being changed, or in any way relate to the faithfulness of the adaptation. There's just plain bad writing in the show that has nothing to do with my fundamental disagreements.
You serious?
Let's continue.
Buy me something that is my Game of Thrones. And there are certain forces at work. Rafe really went to bat for me. I presented a completely different thing to do with Perrin that would still get what they wanted.
He has said this before, and this was the one thing that he did come out and say about season 1 in a blog post. He talked about how he wrote Perrin's character differently and tried to get them to make changes that they 100% ignored. Now, Brandon blames this rejection of his input on the producers and not the showrunner, Rafe Judkins, but we'll get a little bit more into that in a second.
Minor spoilers for the television show's first episode, but instead of the big event that happens there, I'm like, what if he wounds Master Luhan? He's worried about the rage inside of him. You can get all the same beats without doing the thing you did, and then he also won't be traumatized for the entire first season, and you can actually go on a fun adventure with his friends. And they took it all the way to the higher-ups and fought for my version of it. I even wrote it out for them, and they said no. So,
oh, my sweet summer child.
Brandon absolutely believes this to be true. The problem is, it's not. Yes, I'm sure Rafe Judkins told you he was fighting for you, Brandon. I'm sure to your face, Rafe Judkins seems like a really nice guy who just wants to adapt the Wheel of Time faithfully. But what you might not know is Rafe Judkins wrote the script for episode 1. He's the one who came up with the idea to have Perrin kill his wife. And he was absolutely trying to convince the producers to take his version instead of yours. If you look at all of the facts about Rafe Judkins, they line up so perfectly in a fence about his state of mind and attitude towards the Wheel of Time that it's impossible for anyone with a rational mind who has done all the research to believe that Rafe Judkins is an honorable figure here. He does not like the Wheel of Time, and I've gone into it immensely in the past. He is fully willing to make fundamental changes to the source material as a joke, just to spite people who disagree with his politics. Rafe Judkins is not a good person here. His original script, which is what he used to pitch the show to Amazon with, includes very, very graphic sex scenes, which seem to be just him acting out his crazy fantasies on screen. And we all know that Robert Jordan was vehemently opposed to people making erotic fan fictions of his works.
If you want to write erotica, fine. I like reading erotica, sometimes. But if you write erotica using my characters and post it, I will find you, and I will come down on you like the hammer of God. I've found some very raunchy and very badly written examples of that, and I don't like it a bit.
And Rafe Judkins doesn't care about that. He doesn't care about Brandon Sanderson. And I would bet a whole lot of money that when he took your script to the higher-ups, I don't even think they ever saw it.
It's their show. They can do what they want, but they did the Rafe went straight up with my version. So you know, there's some very wonderful things about that show. Most of them are people named like Rosamund and people like that. And
and again, I kind of feel bad for Brandon because I'm sure that all of these people are very, very nice to his face. But they repeatedly just throw his advice and knowledge out the window and give him no respect. He's just too nice to see the malice. Brandon Sanderson equates a lot of the show's shortcomings to ignorance or inexperience or studio meddling, when it's pretty obvious to people who've been paying attention that the real goal behind these things in the show is malice.
There's one rule above all others for being a man. Whatever comes, you face it on your feet.
10 seconds later.
As you've summoned me, Mother, so I've come. I stand ready.
Do you now, boy?
They don't want to adapt the Wheel of Time. They want to create a show that pushes their political agenda, that includes all of their sexual fantasies, and they don't like the Wheel of Time. But yes, Brandon Sanderson still manages to find the good side of things. And yeah, there are some good things about the show. I think that Rosamund Pike is a great actress, and she could have made a great Moraine. If Moraine's character was written like Moraine from the books, I would have loved to see that. The problem is the writers. So I'm sorry, Brandon, I love you, but I disagree. I absolutely blame the writers.
there are some really good writers on that show, and they're working very hard to give you a fantastic experience. There's just lots of forces at play. I'll just say that.
Anyway, that's it. That's it for the video. That's all he had to say about the Wheel of Time. I just thought it was hilarious that he keeps bringing up the Wheel of Time and apologizing for the TV show, even when it's not what people are asking him about. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure you hit subscribe because there is more of this coming soon. Brandon Sanderson also brought up the Wheel of Time on his podcast with Dan Wells, Intentionally Blank, and they talked about it for quite some time, and it's a really good conversation. It's just taking a while to edit, but that's coming soon. So more of this in the future. And eventually I'll get around to finishing my criticisms of each episode of the show, but those take even longer. Anyway, peace out. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. If it's true, please take a minute to subscribe to the channel, and you can join us along for the ride. And if you pay me, I'll try to be more entertaining, so please consider joining Patreon.